/aws batch demo, you'll find the Docker file and the script for it, and I will also post the link at the bottom of this video. So basically, to run an AWS batch, you need a Docker container. So we have this Docker file, but first of all, we are going to look at our script. So what this script does, it will populate some data in a table named test table. So this is just a sample script. So you already need to have this test table created. So we'll create this in this video, and it needs to populate, or it will populate it'll go through this loop and populate data in the test table. So that's our sample batch. Now you want to containerize this batch, so we are going to create a Docker file. So this Docker file will be a Python image, and then on top of it we are going to install Boto3. Then we are going to make a directory /src, and we are going to copy the contents into /src, so contents of the location from which we are going to run this Docker file. And then this is the entry point, so basically we are going to run the script. So let's first create this Docker file, or a Docker image. So I'm already inside my local machine. I have already Docker installed on it. So this is the Docker file we just looked, and this is the script that we looked, the Python script to load data in DynamoDB. So what I'm going to do is create an image up. So I have this command. So basically we are going to build an image with this name, and I'll just run this command. So now we have a Docker container ready. Now we are going to push this image to my Docker Hub account. So it's pushing our image to my Docker Hub account, and you already need to authenticate your local with your Docker Hub account. So we are going to log into my Docker Hub and check. So now let's go to our Docker Hub account and see if we have the image uploaded or not. So we have this image over here at the end, the AWS batch demo image. So we are going to use this image for our AWS batch demo. So now we have our image ready. Now we are going to go to the AWS console, and then we're going to go to batch. So you'll see the screen, and I am logged in as an admin user. So we'll click on get started, and I'm going to skip the wizard. So first of all, you'll see all this menu items on the left hand side. So first we are going to create a compute environment, then a job queue, then a job definition, and then a job. So we are going to go in reverse order. So we are going to create a compute environment. Basically it's a form of template to tell AWS which kind of instances you want and those kind of things. So it's going to be managed, and the name would be for the service role. Let's just select create new role, instance role, create new role. Key pair, you can select a key pair if you are going to log into your batch instances. In our case we don't really have to, but that's fine, we'll just select one. You don't really have to. Minimum CPU is 0 and desired 1. Let's say max 4. If you keep minimum more than 1 or more than 0, then your instance will always be running. But if you keep the minimum as 0, then your instance will get terminated when there's no batch running. let's have desire of one, so that's what we really actually want, like one virtual CPU. Max 4, it will be nice to have a max cap limit so that we don't have a process that keeps creating a lot of CPUs. I'll put it in the default CPU or default VPC right now for now, and the name would be, so your instance will be created with this tag, and then we'll click on create. Let me just confirm everything is okay. Service role is create new role, and instance role, the instance role will be assigned to the instance, and the service role will be used by AWS batch service to create your. We'll click on create. So now it's getting created. Now let's create a job queue. So basically you create a compute environment, and then you create queues for your job, and then you push your jobs to those queues. So let's create a queue. Priority, we'll just give a queue a name, and priority, higher the priority, that queue will be having a higher priority in the processing. And the select compute environment, so we are going to select the environment we just created. So this queue is now attached or associated to that compute environment. So if you want to execute anything on this queue, it will use the compute environment we created earlier. For some processes you might need more virtual CPU. So now our queue is created. Now let's create a job definition. The job definition is the actual meat and potato of your job, where you actually define your job and which Docker container it should use for running the job, and what IAM permissions the Docker container will use. So I'm going to click on create, and then click on, for the job role, we don't really have a role, so we are going to create a role, because we know that our batch is going to access DynamoDB and it's going to put items. So we need a role with put items. So let's create one. So I'm going to go to IAM, click on roles, create role, and the role should be of type ECS. So we have this Elastic Container Service, and then for our use case we are going to select Elastic Container Service task. Click next, permissions. It needs to access DynamoDB, so you just need to have put item permission, but let's just create, or let's just give full access. Don't do that in production. Click review. Give your role a name. And then click on create role. So now our role is created. Now let's go back to our page, refresh, and now we have this job role. So basically it needs to be of ECS task type, container image. Let me see. So you need to use this container image. Now if you give this name format, it will try to look for this image in Docker Hub. You can also use other repositories like ECR, like Amazon CCR. You can do that. Command, like in our case we already have the command that we are going to run, which will be like Python. Let me show you. So it's Python and this file, but you can, if you don't give this command, you can then instead of in your Docker file, you can give the command over here, so it will run this command when the container is created. Virtual CPU, okay, 2 is fine. Memory, we don't really need much memory to run. And let's just click on create job definition. So now your job definition is done. Now let's create an actual job. So we're going to submit a job. And then we are going to select our job definition, our queue. This will be a single job and not an array job. Command, it's already there. You can take this out. It shouldn't matter because our container itself has that command, or you can keep it there. The virtual CPUs, memory and all. And let's submit our job. So it's in submitted status, then it will go to pending status, then runnable, starting, running, and then failed or succeeded. So these are the states of AWS batch job. So let's refresh. Let's go to our dashboard. So it's in runnable state right now. So it's preparing your environment and everything. So we'll refresh it and come back up. The batch is in starting state. So now the batch went to failed status. So let's see what failed. We'll click on that failed. So we can view the logs over here. So we'll click on view logs. So it says an error. So this is just a demo. So basically everything is hard coded. I'm going to click on create. So now we have our test table running, or it's been created, and now the service role create